Alright, grade 11s, welcome to today's video in which we are going through your September theory paper. Okay, so hope you got pen and paper ready. Please remember in the description below, you'll find the link to the Google Drive, and that is where I've got everything, the question paper and the memo. So let's go through our 50-mark test that we wrote this term. Okay, so we're going to look at question number 1. The question number 1 was, you can see A, match the column, and it's telling us there, choose a term or concept from column B and match it to the description in column A. So you can see in column B, we've got web browser, which we know is a piece of software that helps us navigate over the internet. So I'm just going to go through those things first before we even match anything. When we talk about upgrading, we're talking about going to a different version of software. Okay, so like going from Windows 7 to Windows 10, new features, all those type of things. Malware, this refers to malicious software. Communication, obviously the way, two items are talking to each other, if I can put it that way. And then a patch, that is just a small piece of software that solves a particular problem. So it's like updating your phone, your fixes, and it generally fixes little bugs or little specific problems that your software might have. So with that in mind, let's go and look at column A. Okay, and let's see where we can match up these things. So column A says number 1 or 1.1, any software written with negative intentions. Okay, so when software is written to cause a problem, it's written with a negative intention. What is malware? Malware is malicious software. It means it is harmful software, software that has negative intention. So 1.1, that is C. Okay, I'm going to check everything as I go along through with the memo on my left-hand side as well. Next one, 1.2, protocol used for fast, easy transfer of files between remote computers that have an internet connection. Okay, so what is that going to be? Is there an option here? There doesn't seem to be an option. Let's go down. So we've got 3 more. Sorry, I didn't see this. We've got FTP, our file transfer protocol. This is basically the rules that govern how large files are going to move across the internet. Wi-Fi, well, all of you know what Wi-Fi is, and Bluetooth as well. So I don't even have to go into that. So 1.2 said a protocol used for fast, easy transfer of files between remote computers that have an internet connection. That is going to be F. That's going to be our FTP. Stands for File Transfer Protocol. 1.3, this is an update to software intended to fix bugs in software. Didn't I mention this earlier? Okay, that is going to be E, our patch. So it's an update to software that is intended to fix bugs. Bugs are small problems in your software. So that's what it is. 1.4, a wireless technology that allows devices such as mice, printers, and cell phones to communicate over a relatively short distance. There's our clue, a short distance. Doesn't that sound like Bluetooth? Okay, so that is Bluetooth. 1.4 is Bluetooth. Then 1.5 says a type of software application that enables a user to view and explore web pages. What do you think that is going to be? It allows us to explore web pages. In other words, it allows us to navigate over the internet. That's going to be our web browser. Right, question number 2. Here we're looking at our multiple choice section. There was only 5 questions here as well. So let's go through. Remember what I've always said when it comes to multiple choice, eliminate the things that you know it's not. Then you're left with 2 options, and then it's sort of a 50-50 between the 2. So if you've studied, you'll know what the answer is. And if you haven't, well, it's a bit of a gamble, but you'll be taking the chance anyway. Okay, so 2.1. An email message that promises the school principal that he will receive large amounts of money if he forwards this email to at least 10 people. And now we already know what that is because we've had this in messages and things like that. But let's look at the options. A driver. Now, first of all, a driver is software that tells the computer how to work with an external piece of hardware, like a printer. So we know it's not that. Hoax. Okay, sounds good. A Trojan. What is a Trojan? It's a piece of malicious software, harmful software, that is intended to cause harm, but on the surface, it doesn't look like it's harmful. So it looks like it's supposed to do something useful, but it ends up doing something harmful. Okay, so it can't be that. So already A and C out. D is a firewall. What is a firewall? Firewall is a layer of protection between yourself and the internet that essentially protects you from anything harmful coming from the internet. Does that sound right? Like what they're asking? No, definitely not. So A, C, and D, just because we understand the terms, we know it's not that. So the only option is B. It's a hoax, a lie. 2.2, proprietary software. What does that mean? It means software that we purchase and we get a license to actually activate it. Okay. So again, you can see how I'm reading this. I'm reading the question, understanding the question before I even look at the answer. Okay. Proprietary software is software that can be copied freely. No, stop there. It's already not that. Is completely free? No. What did I just say? We purchase it and we get a license to activate it. Ah, look at C. Needs a license to be bought to use it. I don't even have to go further. 2.2 is C. 2.3 says, which one is another name for a web address? So we've got HTTP. What does that stand for? Our Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The rules as to how you're going to move through the internet. Your URL is that whole long address. So HTTP, then, ://. You've got that entire thing, www.facebook.com, the whole story. That is a possibility. HTML, no, that is coding, okay, to design websites. And www, that stands for World Wide Web, and it's the service that runs on the internet. So out of all of them, the only option it can be is B, the URL, the Universal Resource Locator. 2.4. Which one of the following restricts unauthorized access to and from a computer network? Can a modem do that? Well, maybe some of you don't even know what a modem is. Okay, a modem in the past is what allowed us to connect to the internet. So it is a physical device, we plug into it, and through that we can connect to the internet. A UPS, so modem, no. UPS, uninterrupted power supply. It allows our computers to actually work when the power's off. Even when Eskom decides, they're going to switch it off, if your PC is plugged into a UPS, it will basically make your PC work off a battery, if I can put it that way. So it can't be that. A 3G card that's giving you access to the internet, again, it can't be that. Firewall. Now, I mentioned earlier that a firewall stands in between yourself and the internet and, protects you from, anything harmful coming from the internet. So look at the question. Which one of the following restricts unauthorized access to and from a network? A firewall would be a perfect example. Okay, so it is 2.4D. Then the last one, 2.5. Which one of the following represents the order of wireless range or bandwidth from highest to lowest? Okay, so we've got Wi-Fi, we've got Bluetooth, we've got WiMAX. Now again, I'm going to go to the question. Which one of the following represents the order of your wireless range? In other words, which one has the largest range when it comes to providing internet connectivity? We already know that Bluetooth is like only somewhere between, I think it's less than 10 meters. So already Bluetooth must be lost. And because we know that, look at the options. It can only be D. You see, because D is the only one that has Bluetooth as the last option. Now, what's also going to make this simpler for you is that WiMAX is an upgraded version of Wi-Fi. In other words, if your Wi-Fi can only stretch 50 meters, I'm just using an example, WiMAX allows that to be stretched to probably 100 meters, etc. So it's got a much bigger or larger range than normal Wi-Fi, which means that will go first. And that confirms that our answer is D. It's WiMAX, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. Okay, let's go over to question number 3. Question number 3 was a true and false. Now, people, I just want to explain this quickly. When something is true, I've mentioned this before to the grade 11s and the grade 12s, and sometimes the grade 10s as well if they come across this. If something is true, it's true, finished, over, done. You don't have to explain the fact that it's true. However, when something is false, you need to indicate why. So look at the question. It says, indicate whether the following statements are true or false. Where the statement is false, rewrite only the underlined section to make it true. So you don't have to necessarily also tell me it's false, but it's fine. If you indicated that, let's say, for example, 3.2 is false, you need to just change the word. Okay. So I just want to show you on the memo what it needs to look like. Bring this in there. You can see that one is true. This one is false. And you need to change the word and say notepad there. I know I'm showing you the answer, but that's fine. I just need you to understand that. So let's go through. A bug 3.1 is a term used to describe an error or fault in a program caused by the way it was written. That is true. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. 3.2. A word processor is the best application to display an HTML page. We know, having done HTML, that a word processor, they're referring to Microsoft Word, it's not going to do what we need it to. We use Notepad or Notepad++, depending on what you are using. Okay, so that's going to be false. And we're going to write down false. And we're going to write down Notepad or Notepad++. Let's look at the next one. 3.3, cyberbullying involves unwanted attention towards another person or group of people using cell phones and other methods of electronic communication. Doesn't sound right, because I mean, cyberbullying is where you are being harmful to the person, you know, whether it's on social media or things like that. What is this saying? It involves unwanted attention towards another person. This sounds to me like stalking. Okay, so it's false, and the answer is going to be cyber stalking, not cyberbullying. 3.4. E-commerce is the term used for any type of business transaction done via the internet. 100%. Okay. 3.5. A hotspot is a wireless network technology used for connecting computers and other mobile devices to a wireless network or to the internet. Let's go through it again, because this seems to be true. It's a wireless network technology. We know that. For example, if you go to KFC, you know, you connect to their hotspot. That's fine. For connecting computers and other mobile devices to a wireless network or to the internet, boom, that is 100% true. Okay. Let's go on. Now we get to the longer questions. Question number 4. So the first one, I did tell you that this would definitely come in. Question number 4, define a network. Now, I think this is why I'm going to keep bringing this in as we go through. Let me just resize this over here. Please, guys, when you are defining a network, we need to get this right. Okay. I define it as follows: 2 or more computing devices connected through some sort of media to each other, whatever it is, for the purpose of sharing information. So here in the memo, they tell us a computer network is when 2 or more computers or computing devices are connected to one another by some sort of communication media. Now, if they ask you for this definition for 3 marks, you would have to include the fact that the purpose is to share information. 4.2. Name 2 reasons why it would be beneficial to connect computers to a network in a school. Now, for those of you who have networks in your school, I just want to check on the memo here because they've got a lot of options. Why do we generally have networks in our school? Because we can now share things like internet hardware devices like printers. We can share scanners. We can share information easily. We can have, shared resources, things like file sharing. We can have little intranet servers. There's just so much we can do. This is why when you work on a computer that's on a network, you generally access the information from a network. So there's a central server that sees to everything like usernames, passwords, all these different things. But with all that in mind, let's look at some of the options that they gave us. And they only wanted 2. So files can be accessed from any computer in the network. That you don't have to go and sit at the same PC every time to access your files on the network. You can sit at any computer that's connected to the network and still have access to your files. Files can be transferred without the use of portable devices. Software can be shared. Hardware can be shared. There's increased security. A single internet connection can be shared. So those are just a few of the options that we have. 4.3 said explain how speech recognition software can help disabled people to make use of computers. So if the person can't use their hands, they've got some sort of mobility issue, maybe they're paralyzed, whatever the case may be, but they can still speak. The speech recognition software does what? It allows me to speak to the computer understands what I'm saying, and it performs an instruction. Okay, so I can give the computer instructions, open this file, open this folder, and the software, that speech recognition software, is a program that helps me to do that. Okay. 4.4, the difference between a LAN and a WAN. LAN and a WLAN. Now, what is a LAN? It's a local area network. What does that mean? It's a network that's confined to one geographical area. So for example, your school that has its own network that's in one geographical area, it's limited to that. So that is a local area network. Your WLAN, or your wireless local area network, is exactly the same, but it's wireless. Okay, so obviously there are advantages and disadvantages. And look at 4.5. That now talks about, or asks you rather, about two advantages of a WLAN. Now, given that it's wireless, what does that mean? We can connect a lot easier. Our devices can move around easier, so there's a lot more flexibility. They mentioned also, obviously, because it's wireless, there are less cables. Okay, so you can say it's easier to connect, less cables, there's flexibility in movement. Those are just a few of the advantages. Then 4.6 give two reasons why people would want to update their software. Now, we mentioned earlier, as we looked at some of the options earlier on, we spoke about things like bugs. So we said a bug is a small problem that occurs with a particular program. So let's say there's some other bug that people pick up, or the developers pick up with WhatsApp. What do they usually do? They tell you there's a new update, and they tell you that this update fixes this particular bug. So you would want to do that to fix software errors or software bugs. Also, if there are new features that come out, usually it'll come out in an update, and they'll tell you in this update, these are the new features that are going to be there. So number one, we can fix errors. Number two, we can update our software with additional features. Okay, that's why people would want to do that. Then, and I want you to get this right, briefly describe the function of the following components. We've got our network card and our modem. So our network card, our network interface controller, is the physical connection between a computing device and the computing medium. Okay, so in normal computers, your laptops, you'll have a physical network card. This is the physical card that's in your machine, and your network cable will usually plug into that. Okay, and that allows you to connect to a network. A modem is different because it's a device, a hardware device, that allows data from a computer to be sent over a telephone line. And again, those of you who have no idea about the old modems, we used to connect like that. We used to have a physical modem, and you would plug in, you'd have like a modem card in your PC, and you'd take your telephone cable, right? Some of you don't even know what these telephone cables look like. Plug it into the back of the PC and into where the telephone jack is in the wall, and you would use the internet that way. Obviously, the only problem is that when people try to phone you at home, the phone was always engaged. Now, bear in mind, this was at a time where cell phones were only starting to come out. So people were still phoning to one another's homes. How do they do it today? A multitude of different ways. Okay. All right, let's move on. Still on 4.6. Consider the, for 4.7 now. Consider the following advert for a laptop computer and answer the questions that follow. Here we've got some specs. Now, people, I just want to add this. I'm going to be doing, I'm reaching out to various companies at the moment because I'm going to be doing a big video series on, reviewing different tech out there for you. Okay, so that not only you, but your parents as well can come and watch these videos and learn about what they should look at when they are going to buy a computer, a laptop, an external hard drive, things to consider, things that, they maybe don't know, and sometimes you might not know how to explain it to them, but I'm here to help, and I'm going to be doing a series on that, so keep your eyes peeled for that. All right, so they mentioned those particular specs. The first one, 15.6-inch HD. That refers to the laptop screen. Okay, the screen of the laptop, it's telling you the size and the quality. First of all, the size is 15 inches. Now that's measured diagonally from corner to corner. HD tells you the quality, like when you buy a TV, full HD or normal HD, that's what it's referring to. Intel i5, that tells you the manufacturer of the CPU, the central processing unit, that's Intel. The model is i5, and specifically the 7400. Then your RAM, your memory. You've got 4 gigs of memory, but the model of that particular memory, or the speed of that memory, is DDR3. Okay. Then you've got your hard drive. It's a 1.5 TB, which is terabyte. So that's 1,500 gigs of data that you can, save on that particular hard drive. Then it's telling you they've got a Blu-ray player as well, and the operating system is Windows 10 64-bit. Okay, that refers to the processing power. Right. So with that in mind, let's go to 4.7. In fact, all of these are going to relate to these specs over here. What are the 2 main hardware components that one should consider when purchasing any type of computer for general computing purposes? Now, that's probably the first thing we need to just talk about. What does it mean when we talk about general computing? We're talking about using it at home, using it for studying. You're going to be using Office. You're going to be going onto the internet, doing a bit of emailing. That's your general computing purposes. We're not talking about, in-depth gaming and things like that. No, general purposes. So for that, we look at the CPU, we look at the RAM, we look at the hard drive. For me, those are the 3 things you need to look at, because those are the 3 things that impact your performance. You want to make sure it's an up-to-date CPU, you've got enough hard drive space to install whatever you need to, and you've got enough RAM to process all of these instructions. Okay? All right. 4.8, write down the specification that refers to the memory of the computer. Well, we know that. That's our 4 gigs. Okay, so that's our 4 GB. You don't necessarily have to put down DDR3, but you can. Okay, I would usually advise just put everything down just to be safe. 4.9, would the above computer be ideal for high-end gaming? What did I say earlier? No. Why? Simply because the hardware that's there is not sufficient to handle it. So for example, I've got a gaming laptop. It's got about between 8 and 16, I think it's about 16 gigs of RAM. Why? So it can handle all that processing that needs to be done by the game. 4 gigs is not going to cut it. A 1.5 terabyte hard drive is still okay, right? That is fine. Your Intel i5 is also a little bit old, but again, it depends on what you are going to be playing. But if they're talking about high-end computer gaming, not even the CPU is going to be okay. So there's not enough RAM. There's not enough CPU power, and they're not even mentioning the graphics cards. Okay, they haven't even mentioned that. So that already tells you this laptop probably just has the standard stuff in it, and it's not going to be suitable for that. All right, then 4.10. Let's get the memo out here. 4.10 talks about hardware failure. So hardware failure, when your components fail, they break, they get damaged, anything like that. It is a sad reality of computing. 4.10.1, give one troubleshooting tip you might try if you experience problems writing to a CD or DVD apart from using a different disk or drive. I want to explain some of these things. In the memo, it says, try to write at a lower speed. When you copy information, and when we talk about writing, we're basically saying we're copying information to a CD or DVD. When we do that, we can do it at different speeds. Sometimes the speed is too high, and then when we try and do this, it doesn't work. Make sure that the disk is clean. In other words, there's nothing on the disk, or there's enough space on the disk, okay? Because that might be a problem as well. You might have a disk that can only handle 4 gigs, but you're trying to copy 8 gigs worth of information over, and obviously that is not going to work. Then also try not to use the computer for other tasks while writing. So if you're going to be copying info to a CD or DVD, make sure there's nothing else running. Don't have that running and then you want to watch a movie and you want to surf the internet and all this type of thing, it is going to interfere. So you want to give all the processing power to that, unless you have a very strong PC. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Name 2 common sense precautions that can help prevent hardware failure. Now, we mentioned this before. Our UPS, which is our uninterrupted power supply. Many PCs today and equipment gets damaged because the power switches off. We have, blackouts. We have all these wonderful things with power, all this load shedding. And then we leave it plugged in, which we shouldn't. We should take it out, because when the power comes back, you have a power surge coming through. So what a UPS does is it allows you, takes your PC and you basically plug it into the UPS. So you're running your PC off of the UPS, which is basically like a big battery. That gets its charge from the wall. So when Eskom decides to switch everything off, your PC remains running because it's now running on a big battery. I'm just going to make it simple, right? You're running off a big battery. But it doesn't last forever. Sometimes it's there for 15, 20 minutes. And the idea with the UPS is for you to have enough time to switch everything off correctly. That's the purpose of a UPS. When we talk about inverters, that's there to keep the PCs running for hours, but not a UPS. You can also prevent water damage or spilling of liquids on equipment. So please, when you're watching movies on your laptop, don't have drinks and stuff around you. It's so easy to knock the stuff over. Ensure proper cooling. That PC, as long as it's on, it's building heat, and it needs to dissipate that heat or get rid of it and keep cool. Okay. Don't force connectors into wrong slots. Whoa, I've seen this so many times. People are like pressing things in, and they're trying to force a USB flash drive into a HDMI port. Why? Because they're not looking. Okay, so don't do that. And you want to keep it in safe places and not knock it over. So when you are moving around with your laptop, make sure there's enough space so you don't knock this thing off the table. I've had it happen to me. I tripped over the cable and pulled the whole laptop off the table. That was the end of that laptop's hard drive. Lost quite a bit of info with that. Okay, last few questions, then we are done. Question 5 says, as there will be laptops permanently connected to the internet, the SGB is concerned about the impact social media might have on the learners and the increase in certain malware. What is malware? Malicious software. What does that mean? Harmful software. Okay, 5.1. List 2 advantages of using social networks. Well, people can advertise on social media. You can communicate with people around the world. You can communicate with people you've never even met or seen before. So it allows better communication between people. It allows learners to collaborate with one another. I mean, look what we're doing. We've got a Facebook page, Cat with Mr. Hembry. I can interact with learners from around the country. Okay, so these are just some of the advantages. Name 2 ways in which you can protect yourself while using social networks. People, one of the big things, please log out of your accounts. When you are on a PC, especially a PC that's not yours, you go to an internet cafe, you sit at a PC at some, maybe your friend's place or so on, you log into your account, you do whatever you need to. When you are done, can you please log out? Because when that person comes back to their PC, they can open it. It's in your account. They can post on your name. And we don't want that. So you want to be able to log out. Some of the other reasons I just want to show you here. Don't give out personal information. Now, I know on social media we do. Okay? You tell people where you are, what time. You even tell people if you are alone or not. Don't accept strangers on social networks. Please, people. Not everyone is there to be your friend. There are so many scammers out there. There are so many people wanting to do you harm. So please, if you don't know the person, don't accept friend requests. Don't post damaging, insulting content about yourself or your friends. Okay? Don't do that. And last but by no means least, restrict the amount of time you spend on these networks. Control yourself. Self-control, ladies and gentlemen. Right, 5.3. Social engineering has become a real threat to computer users today. So let me get the right definition here for you. Briefly explain what social engineering is, and then give 2 precautions you can take to prevent becoming a victim of social engineering or a social engineering attack via email. So first of all, social engineering is a method of getting confidential information from a person rather than breaking into the computer system. So instead of them hacking your account, or instead of them doing anything like that, what do? They will send you an email. They will message you, saying, man, listen, I really need you to help me with this. Or, you know what, I heard that you inherited this. Please click on this link. This is going to take you to more information to find out where you inherited this money from, who you inherited it from, and to claim the millions of dollars that they've left for you. Okay, that's social engineering. How can you, let me just get the correct word in here again. Give 2 precautions you can take to prevent becoming a victim of a social engineering attack via email. So first of all, your antivirus program on your PC, you need to have an updated one. This is going to make sure that there's no funny attachments or harmful attachments coming through. This is why the first one is scan the email before opening. Your antivirus program will do that for you. Don't open email messages where you don't know, who it's from. If you've never seen that email address before, delete it. Don't click on links in the emails. Don't believe every email message that's there. Think before you act. Don't trust strangers. Listen, people, I deal with this on a daily basis. I had a lady reach out to me the other day and just randomly asked me, man, I need some help because I was busy with whatever. And this person contacted me and said that, in order for me to continue what I was doing, I need to pay him 10,000 Rand. And the lady did, thinking that this guy was from this particular company. I said to her, no, man, those people will never ask you, because I knew the individuals. Those individuals will never ask you for money. Okay? But unfortunately, a lot of people fall for these things and yeah, they end up losing quite a bit. All right, 5.4. In our quest for a paperless office, people are encouraged to make use of electronic mail instead of letters and faxes. In other words, email. 5.4.1. Explain what a web-based email service is. Now, a lot of you got this wrong, so I want to make sure that you get this right. Web-based mail, for 2 marks, is a service that allows you to access your mail anywhere through a web browser, and all you need is an internet connection. So you're accessing your email through a web browser or an app on your phone, and it just needs an internet connection. Okay? Give one reason, 5.4.2, why you would use a web-based email service. Well, if it's so easy to access, it means that, number one, I can access it from anywhere. Okay? Let me just go down here. Yeah, I can access it from anywhere that has an internet connection, and it's usually free of charge. So think of things like Gmail. You don't pay for Gmail, but you can access it anywhere and use it from anywhere. 5.4.3, what is the major disadvantage of a web-based email service? There we go. You have to stay online to read, create, edit, and receive those email messages. Okay? Hope you're all with me. Here we go, 5.5. Don't worry about the fact that it's numbered incorrectly here. Having computers connected to the internet will help the school pay bills online. List 2 ways. Let me get this. List, first of all, it should be 5.5.1. List 2 ways in which banks protect clients when they are making online transactions. How do they do that? By providing clients with usernames and passwords, having a one-time PIN, and having an automatic timeout. So for those of you who do log on to internet banking, you know you have to log in with the username and password. Usually they would send you a PIN. You'd have to put that in. And if you have the app open for a while, it'll automatically log you out. Those are the ways that the banks are trying to make things more secure. 5.5.2 or 5.6.2 as they show here. What are some of the ways that a user can now protect themselves when banking online? So there's a big difference between this. The first one looked at what are the banks doing to protect you? Okay. Now, what are you doing in 5.5.2 to protect yourself? Number 1, don't use public computers for banking. Use good passwords. Don't use your boyfriend's name or your dog's name or your mother's name. Please, these guys can figure this stuff out. Never make personal details such as PIN codes and passwords available. What do some of us do? We like write the stuff down and then we put it here and somebody can see it. Somebody can get a hold of it. we actually make notes on our phone of our passwords, and then we say banking password, banking PIN. Okay, I understand that people forget. I'm human, just like everybody else. I do exactly the same, but I'm saying to you, somebody gets your password or that little book that you've written everything in, it's all there. And then the last one, update system software and antivirus programs. So on your PC, it's no use you having, and I've seen this so many times with people, they have an antivirus system, but they don't update it. It's useless to you if you don't update it, because it needs to be updated to the latest version so that it can handle the latest type of viruses and malicious software that's out there. So folks, with your antivirus software, please, like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of reviews on the channel that I'm going to add to really build a holistic environment here, where we are not just learning the theory and the prac, but I'm going to be looking at different devices, laptops, computers, all these type of things, so that when you go out and you go and buy something, you've actually seen it for yourself. You understand what you should be looking for, what you should be looking at. And when it comes to an antivirus program, these you have to update regularly. If you don't, they are going to be of no use to you whatsoever. Okay, so grade 11s, that's it for the theory paper. That's our 50 marks, and I'll see you in our practical video.